Well, what Michael has been talking about is a continuation of what the Prime Minister said a week ago on the steps of Downing Street, namely that there are some people, sadly, who hold views that are contrary to the values that we hold as a country, and we should not allow those views to percolate through society, or indeed allow them to try and change the way we as a society conduct our democracy, the way we allow Parliament to set its own rules and conventions and so on. And so Michael, as you will know full well, has taken a long-standing interest in this and is setting out his ideas as to what we should do to tackle some of these very, very extreme views that we are sadly seeing expressed around our streets. But also, of course, people going, I mean, yesterday I saw somebody had ripped apart a painting, and you think this is not the way that we conduct democracy and express our views in this country.
Yeah, I want to come to yesterday in a moment, but just let's be absolutely clear. What is it that the government is now aiming at? Are we talking about groups to which the government will not speak, or are we talking about groups who will be banned? Well, because it's quite a big step if we're talking about banning groups because of views they hold as opposed to things they have done.
Well, of course, we have a long-standing convention in this country of proscription for those groups that meet the very, very strict criteria under the legislation. That is, if you like, at the most extreme end. But also, I think there is, at the other end of the scale, there is concern that when, for example, we have demonstrations in London that, as happened yesterday, there is concern that with these large-scale demonstrations, there can be a minority of people who hold and extol views that make the rest of us feel not just deeply uncomfortable, but if you are a Jewish resident of London, some have said that they feel worried about walking around London when these demonstrations happen, and that's not right.
I understand that, and we've discussed that on this programme before, but we're talking now about, as it were, punishing or prescribing groups for their views. And you talked about long-standing traditions. I think we've got an even longer-standing tradition. I think the words Magna Carta come into my mind, which are about people being able and free to say what they think, even if it is objectionable, possibly even frightening to others.
And Trevor, you're exactly right to draw that distinction. And by the way, I hope I made myself clear when I was talking about the existing legislation, that is the proscription, as I say, under very strict criteria for groups of people who do or intend to do very real harm here in the UK and elsewhere. But and so that, as I say, is at the sort of extreme end of the range. But I do think we have to have a conversation about people behaving as they did, as I say, in this art gallery we saw over the last day or so, the demonstrations where people are projecting images onto Big Ben.
But it's
a delicate balancing act.
We have laws against that. It's called one called criminal damage.
Well, no,
not
actually, Trevor, forgive me.
What this is
that
really
wouldn't apply for the projection on Big Ben. That would not apply for the picture. Of course, it does. But we do also have hate crime. You're exactly right. We have hate crime legislation.
There's a suspicion that what's emerging here is really not, a noble defence of British values, but actually a new dividing line with Labour, because in essence, what you think is this is going to be really difficult for Labour because a lot of the groups involved here would be Islamist groups, and you think that that will give Labour trouble with its Muslim voters.
I fundamentally disagree with that. Our Prime Minister is a principled man. When he spoke on the steps of Downing Street, he spoke, I thought, with a great deal of personal conviction as well about the pain that racism, that ideology, extremist ideology can have. And that is absolutely not why we are trying to tackle these ideas. It is precisely because we have seen, sadly, in the last 6 months or so, we have seen this rise in extremist ideas, which is making people, other citizens in our country feel deeply uncomfortable. And so it is that balancing act between, as you say, the freedom of speech, but also the right of citizens to go about their daily lives.